till earth and heaven ring with the harmony of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the glistening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea.
Greetings, greetings, and greetings again. Welcome to our program, The Silence of Our Friends. Welcome, welcome 1,000 times over. Welcome. Man, we have a lot of work to do tonight. The Silence of Our Friends is the theme of our program, and sort of that moniker was given us by the esteemed Dr. Martin Luther King. And his statement, it was extracted from his statement of profundity, where he said the thing that will be remembered in the end will not be the words of our enemies, but in fact the silence, direct or definite article, the silence of our friends. And it's kind of a play on words, because I have to ask the question of myself from time to time: what kind of friend is there who will be silent when the reciprocal friend or the friend on the other side needs them the most? Um, I had a note I was going over earlier today. Let's see if I can find it. I put it in a saved place because I said if I get in this tonight, it will take me somewhere else. But I'm going to just give you this word, and as you all are logging in, there is a significance in voices. There's a significance in speaking up. Um, Voice, and I also want to type this in the chat as you all are logging in. Voice means choice. Remember, I told you before, and I'll tell you again, one of the reasons that we are here each Monday evening, at least for now, 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, is that we must speak. And we speak because, number one, it makes others know that we are alive. And number two, it makes others know that we are due equal respect. We are here for equality. We are here to speak to the equalization of people in terms of treatment, in terms of the way ethnicities are interpreted, particularly here in these United States of America. And I paused for effect. Um, so voice, here's what I want you to type in. Voice means choice. Voice means choice. In other words, voice is either control. Please hear this. Please hear this. Voice is either control, confuse, or bring freedom. Your voice, my voice. And so back to the original question: what kind of friend is there who is silent when his or her reciprocal friend on the other side of the equation needs them the most? Because your voice, my voice, our collective voice is either number one, control, number two, confuse, or number three, bring freedom. Now, there's a whole teaching I have on that, but if I get into that now, we'll never get into our subject matter for tonight. So I want you to type in, and then I want to say hello to as many people as I can. Type in the subject. This is part two. Then they came for me, and in parentheses, us. They came if they, whomever they are, and we're going to define them in a minute, came for me as an individual, and that's from the poem, and I'll get you that copy again. Then eventually the intent is to come for us, a specific demographic of people. And when I say come for us, I mean to coming in the respect of decimating. And when I say decimating, I mean there is and has been in this country since the slaves, the 19 were brought here initially in 16, 19, 20 were brought here. from Africa to work a stolen continent. And then when those persons from Europe understood, number one, they didn't know how to survive in this newfound land. Number two, they did not know how to develop it. They knew nothing about planting, harvesting, and you hear the reports and the historical records that you're given in school. You hear none of this. You're told about the first since we're coming up on this next month, the first Thanksgiving, and it's such a laugh. It's a joke if you know anything about history. How could and happy uh indigenous peoples day, this land, it was this today, October, what is it, 13th, is historically known in this country as Columbus Day, and that's why some people's offices are closed, officials are off work, and so forth and so on. And so then it came to the place where people said, "Well, we can't, they're learning too much history." This is why Governor DeSantis, I want to not slur his name because I almost called him somebody from the hot place, but Governor DeSantis in Florida, and along with the Red Party people, want to kill history, Black history in this country. This present administration wants to destroy the Department of Education because if people are ever educated, this is why it was illegal to teach a slave to read and write, to become literate in the English language, because the forces that were then knew that if these people are ever able to read for themselves, they will never have to take our word for what the history is, nor take our word for what the truth is, for that matter. And so we've evolved. So the long game was always to keep these people's history from themselves. And with the idea, after the slaves were brought here, they were brought here as freed persons, then turned slaves, and then worse than the general slavery, there was chattel slavery, where the plantation owners and enslavers, otherwise known as slavers, owned these people's very soul, it was thought. They had no right. General slavery, at least the slave could, maybe perhaps in the Bible you had in the Jewish community something called slavery, but it was to work off debts. All right. And so the one person who owed another person could work off the debt in an enslavement sort of agreement, but that person still owned themselves. You could not sell their family members. You remember over in the book of Second Kings, the book of the Kings, Second Kings, the widow woman who was Obadiah's wife, Obadiah the prophet, that's right, who hid off 100 prophets from Jezebel. And once Jezebel killed him, whole story of that, but we're not here to talk about that tonight. Then it left his widow and her two sons in debt. And so she comes to then Elisha, who is now on the scene as a replacement of Elijah, Jah, and says, "You knew my husband, and you knew he feared the Lord, and the creditor has come, right, to take my two sons into slavery, essentially, to work off the debt." Well, that was allowed. That was allowed under the Mosaic law, but it wasn't chattel slavery. Chattel, it sounds like cattle, because the chattel slave was just like cattle, treated just like cattle. You never ask a cow where he wants um, to live. You never ask the cow how he feels about being outside. You never ask the cow how he feels about his living conditions, or whether he or she has enough money to make it. Chattel slavery. You own them, you sell them, you trade them, you barter with them, you do whatever is necessary, you breed them, you treat them however they want to be treated. And that was because of the concept of in the case of chattel slaves, you own them outright, forthrightly. Their families, they had no possession, nothing. They owned nothing. And so there's this idea that in this country, once the slaves were used to build, to develop what we now know as America, then America had a greater problem. There are millions of them here. We only needed them to work in subservient conditions. Now the country, including the White House, including everything else. I mean, you don't have American history without Black history. And so this country has always had that problem of wanting to extract and the people of color. And so here we are, all these years later, dealing with the after effects of that. So I also want you to type in the chat, if you will. And remember, that's the old shift number 3 key on your typewriter if you're using your computer, or just go to that symbol that looks just like shift 3. Or, yes, it's called a hashtag now. We called it pound in one day and time. It's an old symbol for numbers. Hashtag Charlie Kirk Super Bowl, right? That's just going to be the topic I'm going to lead with tonight. No spaces. Charlie Kirk Super Bowl. And by the way, well, I don't want to get into that tonight because that'll take me somewhere. Speaking of Charlie Kirk, but good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming in. Please share if you're over on YouTube. Please share. Press the word share and then subscribe to the channel if you're new to this platform. And if you're over on Facebook, please share as well. Carolyn Banks is here. Thank you. She says she's both liked and shared. Please like us on the page and then like us on the stream itself. Bernice Redden, good afternoon or evening. Yes, good evening. Dolores Gaines, greetings back to you. A.B. Jones is there. I saw you yesterday, sharply dressed and attired and everything like that. Great to see you here. Carolyn Banks, I saw you. E. Hale, thank you. Vicky Gary, hello to you. And apologize for that little snafu that happened yesterday. And I know we'll make it right. So thanks for being here. Yes, Veronica Jackson is here. Yes, thank you. Voice means choice. Thank you for typing in. Shirley Miller is here. Joanne Farrington, Pastor, is here. Thank you for always being there. Who else? Everyone use your favorite emoji right now. I want to see it. Douglas White is there. Thank you. Hello, sir. Thanks for being here. Sandra Smith, there she is. Angela Carlisle, there she is. I was thinking about your wonderful mother today who is with Jesus, Angela. I believe that's the same Angela that's in Tampa now. Yes. Abraham Smith is there. Thank you so much. Yes. Who else is there? Theresa Thomas is here. Yes. Your voice, our voice. Absolutely. The resident historian is here. Pamela Dobbins is here. Thank you. Yes, indeed. In fact, they are here. The class is here and the class is on the bus. Thank you, Alicia Keys, with the intro music. We changed it because, you have to pick up last week's program to understand why I changed the theme. Yeah, say it, Pastor. It's the Satan for me. Hashtag Tampa. That's Angela that I know. Yes. Hashtag Floridian. So she's in the state, and she said what I was trying to avoid saying. Thank you. Jesse Clark is here. Thank you. Yeah, so traumatic. The destruction of the Department of Education, one of the pillars of society. Yes, I'm going to get to that in a minute's time. Thank you, Teresa. Connie is here. Thank you, Demand. Chattel slavery treated as property, a commodity such as cattle, pigs, horses, etc. That's the worst part of slavery, general slavery, and then chattel slavery. I did a program about that about a few weeks ago. You might want to go to YouTube and pick that up. Thank you all for typing in. Beverly Thompson has joined us. Thank you. Rosalind Williams is there. Thank you. Tyrese is there. There you are, sir. Thank you. Herman Webb is there. Thank you, sir, for being here. Barbara Grant. Yes, thank you all. Okay, I'm seeing these emojis. Thank you all for typing in your emoji. Jay Gary is here. Thank you, sir. Apologies again, but we'll make it right for that little situation yesterday. But thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Vicky. They always understand. No problem. Thank you so much. I wish people were just like that everywhere. Jerry McCoy, it's great seeing you yesterday backstage too, sir. I believe that's the same Jerry McCoy that I know. Marquita Sperling, there she is. Thank you for being there. Yes, indeed. Saw you and your wonderful husband yesterday. Yes, they opened up the services yesterday in service one. Janice Norwood is there. Thank you. All right, we came in on Lift Every Voice, which means every voice has a place, every voice has significance. And how long do we do it? Till earth and heaven have the same crescendoing meaning, the same symphony of sound. And that means there's a significance when we're able to bring that sound together. Thank you, Jerry. He said, yes, sir, my pleasure. Yeah, it's great running into him. I see him all the time, but I never get close. But he's handling business for the king and the kingdom. That is Jesus the King and Jesus' kingdom. Sing with harmony, join in with others with a cause, and that being of liberty, a non ending purpose. I am your egalitarian, your black shirt egalitarian. Remember, I wear no theme black shirt on Monday evenings because I want to remind myself as well as to remind us that if we're not very watchful about our condition as a people, as a demographic, there could be a lot of bereavement in our future if we are silent, because there are people who want to commit genocide. Remember, we talked about that word last week: suicide, death by one's own hands, a human killing himself or herself, femicide, death of females, then, of course, homicide, death by way of one human killing or offing or silencing permanently another human being. And then there's what? Genocide, Genocide or CED, excuse me. CIDE, CE. Somebody spell that for me. I'm running into a situation here. Genocide, man, what? I'm drawing a blank. Let's look that up. Let's get that right. Someone is helping me. Are y'all helping me quickly? I drew a blank. Genocide. All right. Yeah. CIDE. Thank you. Did y'all get it right over there? Genocide, right? The deliberate and systematic extermination of a national, racial, political, or cultural group. And for us, thank you, Jasmine. I can count on them getting it right. Genocide. I ran into brain freeze right there, but that's why you all are there. You're the co-pilots of this program. All right. And it was Dr. King who said, and again, being an egalitarian is the mindset to me of all Jesus lovers. If you tell me you're a pastor, uh, a leader of a flock, a leader of a congregation, you want to mount, as we say religiously, the pulpit, the stage, but you keep your hands off of political issues. You don't want to talk about that. Oh no, that'll be taboo. That's too much. That's a rabble rouser. No, no, you are being a selective leader. You cannot cherry pick. If you are a called leader, called to influence people, in my view, if you let me tell the story, then you have to lead on all fronts. People need to know where you stand on all issues that are pertinent to their lifestyle, and development in the earth while in the earth realm. And it was Dr. King who kind of made this really this impression upon me that, and I believe it's correct. If you are a lover of Jesus, you call yourself a Christian, a follower of Jesus Christ, then you have to be an egalitarian. This has to be a person who believes in the equality of all people. Period. Point blank. End of post. Of course, it was Dr. King who said our lives begin to end the day. And I'll say at the moment, the nanosecond, we become silent about things that matter. That's from pastors all the way up and down. And then, okay, when you have to ask yourself the question, why are we voiced? Well, think of it. When white nationalists, white supremacists, white patriots, all of these are dog whistles and covers for racism, supremacy, white supremacy, at best. When they become your educators, when they become your legislators, when they are over these seven mountains of influence, and I'll get to them in its time, then they often control how much one knows, what one is able to see in terms of interpretively, or understand. And so this is why we have to be people of voice. And we're here to deal with this sort of term that is brought to us from those who study the science of the mind, psychology, psychotherapist, whatever else have you. Learned helplessness. Learned helplessness is a state that occurs when a person or persons have experienced a stressful situation repeatedly. And if there's anybody that's experienced a stressful situation, it's been people of color in this country, all the way from being extracted. That's against one's will, being taken out of their natural habitat or environment and brought to a hostile environment to do nothing but work in subservient positions. All right. So learned helplessness qualifies, people of color qualify for that. And then when this stressful situation has happened repeatedly, often those persons affected come to believe that they are unable to control or change the situation. So they stop trying. And that's the goal of many people, even when the opportunities to change become available. I think that's why Jesus would ask a people before he ever healed them, do you want to be made whole? You see, learned helplessness is a condition that happens when people have been taken advantage of, let's just say it that way, or their mental state has been affected and it's been protracted. It's been over a period of time, and they have to want to see it if they have been blind or blind dead. They have to want to walk if they're if they've been impaired in terms of their walking. They have to want to be able to think if they've been abused psychologically. They have to want to be able to live if their life and lives have been threatened. It was again former. Let's just go with J. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Now you know him by his last name, but that's his full name, initial J. Let's just go with this Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Okay, he was the brilliant constructor of music, largely a pianist. All right, he says all I insist on and nothing else is that you should show the whole world that you are not afraid. Be silent if you choose, but when it is necessary, here it is, speak. And speak in such a way that people will remember. I like that. If you like that, type it in the chat. I like it too. TOO. I like it as well. We're here to deal with the seven systems, seven mountains, they're called in one now a pretty famous work. The seven mountains of influence. And there are really seven systems, right, of influence that shape the world. Every culture, every society is built with these seven substratums, if you will. And even the book of Proverbs tells us this. Proverbs chapter 9, verses 1 and 2. The mountain of religion, okay, encompasses the world religions, Islam, Baha'ism, Baha, Buddhism, Christianity, go on, and the list goes on. Then the family mountain, if you will. Of course, mothers and fathers, present mothers and fathers, and even absent mothers and fathers shape their young, either by way of their presence and impact or their absence and distance, so forth and so on. The mountain of education. Education is a powerful shaper of influence and mentality. The mountain of a government, of course, that includes civics. And that I noticed something historically, civics, for the large part of it, stopped being a requirement in high schools around the time of the civil rights movement taking effect in this country. So the long game, like I did, it wasn't required for me. It was not required for me as a student. I was a political science major in college, but it wasn't required for me as a student to take civics. We had no such thing as that. And I'm taking honors classes. Hey, there was no civics. And it was when I started hearing about civics, I didn't even know what it was. There were the best we came close to with that as required subjects in school, in high school, junior high school, and high school for me was American history. And of course, it was kind of jaded. But I noticed that civics kind of stopped being a requirement or the study of government, the study of politics, the study of what voting means, and what the three forms of government are in this country, the Constitution. Because if blacks were then given equal education and treated as equal citizens by way of the first 13th Amendment, 14th Amendment, 15th Amendment, starting with the illegalization, if you will, of slavery, Amendment 13, and then think about it, amendments. Why do you have to tack these? These are called the civil rights, if you will, amendments. These are all affecting people of color. 13, 14, 15 amendments to the Constitution. Why? Because the Constitution, when it was originally constructed, had nothing to say, nothing for the person of color, as quiet as it is kept. Because if that were not true, then you wouldn't have to have the 13, 14, 15 amendments, changes, attachments to the Constitution. 13th Amendment, making slavery illegal in this country. The Gettysburg Address, you need to research that. Why did Lincoln even make that address? It was over the matter of slavery. We had to learn the Gettysburg Address, but we didn't have to learn the reason for which it was given and the culture in which the Gettysburg Address was made, because Lincoln was split right down the middle. He said, if I could save this republic by making slavery legal, I would do it. And if I had to save the republic by making slavery, and you research this now, illegal, I would do it. He didn't care one way or the other. And he was a Republican, but the Republicans of Lincoln are not the Republicans of today. Just like the what am I trying to say? The Israelitic people today are not the Israelitic people of the Bible, largely spent. But I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to get into that. And then again, you have the mountain of the arts that has to do with the celebration, recreation, notes of our world, sports and entertainment, the mountain of media, and then finally the seventh mountain or system of influence that governs the way the world operates and every world operates is finally the more probably important one. Without this one, nothing else works. Business and economics that controls the flow of money. All right. What are you all saying over here? I know I'm talking for a while, and I have to try to keep track of what you all are saying. Civics, half semester in eighth grade, Montevallo Middle School. Okay, but what time was that? How close was that to the 1960, 63, 64 civil rights movement in this country? But I will tell you this, if you don't want to tell, that's fine. But if you think about it, it start to deteriorate in terms of being a requirement along the same line of the time that these equalization amendments went into play. Because if you don't understand the game, you certainly can't play it. You certainly can't play it if you don't understand the rules of the game. Civics in the eighth grade, Carolyn Banks. Yeah, but I'm saying, yeah, yeah. Gettysburg Address. Yeah, that's a farce. You have to understand the reasoning for it. Civics is required on the seventh grade in Alabama. I was a civics teacher. Yeah, but how much does a civics student understand about it in the seventh grade, Theresa? How I know you probably were a gifted and qualified teacher, but it wasn't even required for me in the state of Florida. It wasn't required. I didn't take it. I didn't even know what it was until later on in the educational game. We still had it in Alabama when I graduated from high school in 1985 and had a black female teacher. Okay, so civics were in the ninth grade. Okay, so maybe in Alabama it was, but I guarantee you, I was taught civics in '67 in the ninth grade. Yeah, but at least are we making a point? It's kind of dwindled away in terms of the emphasis of civics, the significance of civics. I remember it being required in the 90s. Okay, maybe I'm the odd one here, but I know here's what I do know. Don't nobody know much about civics now. I do know that, because if you did, if that wasn't true, you would have more people involved in the political process. People don't understand it. They don't understand the game. There's not much people really understand about civics. Yes, Theresa Thomas, civics should be given higher, it's breaking off, higher priority. Absolutely. That's my point. That's my point. So you all are agreeing with that? Okay. Okay. That's my point. That's my point. But it's just it's kind of swept under the rug. But now let's get to this. Turning Point USA. Where have we heard this? Now I'm leading to where I want to get to tonight. And I'm not going to get far. I'll probably have to do a third part next week if we're able to get here. Turning Point USA, the grassroots conservative political action network founded by the late activist Charlie Kirk. All right. And I don't like to call names of people who are opposed to my existence. I don't like to give their names because names give life. And so I like to just give them a moniker or something. But I just want you to know who I'm talking about here. Okay. Um, so Turning Point USA, on the heels of the murder of Charlie Kirk, and again, I don't have a parade for that. I think that the government should foster freedom of speech. I think that the Constitution provides that for people. I don't think people should be murdered because they have differing opinions, because I'm controversial. And so if I believe the opposite, then I would, be a candidate for someone doing something to me. And I don't believe in that. All right. And I certainly hated to see the man murdered, his children having to grow up without his presence, whatever that may or may not mean, his wife the same. But here's a point. So that's a separate point. I definitely don't celebrate that. I don't believe in that. I don't support that at all. Separate and apart from that, however, Turning Point USA was his brainchild. Okay. I've done several programs on Charlie, and I'll just call him by his first name. So we'll get the full name here. And the kind of ideations they fostered. Okay. It was all racist. They lived a racist everything. I did a program the week before last, I think it was, on many of his racist statements. And you can't live as a racist and die as a saint. That's just me. Okay. Now you can color that however you want to color it, fill it in the blanks. I simply gave you direct quotes, and I tried to give it to you with the energy that he gave it. All right. Now, but the point is, after his demise, his brainchild, Turning Point USA, is planning a Super Bowl halftime show with the goal of competing with the official show featuring Bad Bunny. Now, you don't know anything about Bad Bunny, probably, but I'll fill you in. Bad Bunny, and sponsored by Apple Music. Quote, the All-American halftime show, end quote, will take place on Super Bowl Sunday during the big game on February 8th. That's upcoming in year 2026. A website for the event gave few other details about Turning Point's plans, but indicated more information about performers and how the concert will be broadcast would be forthcoming. A little more digging on my part. Here it is. A survey on the site asks respondents to select from a number of genres they like to hear. Now, please listen. Are you all still here? Please pay attention. A number of genres they like to hear during the show, including, again, country. Who is that mostly going to be relegated to? Country. Now, you did have Charlie Pride representing the people of color, and you did have, what's the guy's name, who had the award-winning album, and then of course you had the Beehive and featuring Beyonce with a country hit here recently. I'm trying to remember the other guy's name, but anyway, but but by and large, when you think about country music as far as a musical genre, you're 95% or better thinking about how can I say it? Y'all give me a way to say it. Rural white skinned people. So they gave you selected topics, right, for entertainment. Country, and then they contrasted that with hip hop. We know who that's relative to. Then rock or anything, quote, in English. So now they're telling you what Charlie Kirk's life was really all about. Yes, Cowboy Troy. Thank you. Who was that? Loretta Evans Curly. Yeah, yeah. Then you did have Neville, Aaron Neville. Yes, and he was talented. Yes, I forgot about him. I don't. Marvin Gaye had a country hit. I don't know. Then Darius Rucker, Brian Wilson. Okay, thank you. Y'all know a few more than I know about. But what they don't want, Veronica Jackson. You're right. What they don't want, and that's what they're saying, dog whistling or covering it up by any other means. They don't want to see what they saw last year with Kendrick Lamar. It was too real. It was too much symbolism that they didn't understand. You see, they don't mind talking over our heads as a people. But when we have symbolism over their heads and they can't understand it, this is, football is an American sport, and this is our country, and this is the home of the free, the land of the brave, and we have in our country's a celebrated festival called football, and better than that, the Super Bowl, and we can't have all of these non-white skinned people entertaining us, so we'll compete. We have our own thing going on. Now, listen to this. Plenty of counter programming has been run. Plenty of counter programming has been run over the years to try to siphon off the massive audience that tunes into the Super Bowl during the past halftime events, from puppy bowls to wrestling shows. But this might be the first time a political group has offered counter programming, something to compete with the main theme, because they disagree with the music artist. Remember, they said, would you like to have someone who speaks anything in English? Because here's what it alludes to. The show's announcement comes amid sharp backlash on the right. Okay, that's coded language for the far right, and MAGA Republicans will be far right, ultra conservatives will be MAGA Republicans, and then Republicans will be the right. Democrats would be the left. Okay, to the NFL selection of Bad Bunny, a star. Listen to this now, a star from Puerto Rico, who is wildly successful on the charts. Bad Bunny has said he will not tour in the U.S. for fear his concerts will be targeted by federal immigration authorities amid the president's widespread deportation efforts. He supported former Vice President, yes, you guessed it, Kamala Harris, in last year's presidential contest, making his feelings known after an insult comic at a Trump rally. You remember that? In October last year, this time at Madison Square Garden, joked about Puerto Rico being a, quote, floating island of garbage, end quote. Now, and see, this is where the Latin speaking people now are calling on people of color to unite with them after they overwhelmingly, I forget this statistical numbers, voted for Donald John Trump, number 45 slash number 47. Excuse me. But now they're seeing, the farmers who overwhelmingly in the Midwest voted for number 45 slash number 47. Now they're crying to see what he's literally doing to them, Latin speaking people. And then the list goes on. Some of the rural white skinned Americans, now they're seeing, now they're crying, now they're belly aching, now they're bemoaning. They didn't believe that Project 2025 was either not real, or they didn't believe it was real, or they didn't believe it would affect them. But now they're starting to see, and it's just starting. What are you all saying over there? I had some more I want to say, but I want to get into the gist of this program. And I said they'll be there too, to take illegal immigrants away in force. Frank, yeah, I get it. Another pillar mountain of society being attacked. Theresa, yes. Arts and entertainment, yes. That's it. That's it. See, that's the long game. They if you attack either of or all of the seven systems that govern society's existence, then you are able to infiltrate. See, you see, it's the long game. This is not checkers. This is not checkers. Politics, not checkers, and definitely the politics we have before us is not checkers. This is chess. This is chess. Yeah, Pamela, the farmers are crying and the ranchers are crying. Yeah, and they overwhelmingly voted for number 5, now number 47. Yeah, they thought they were insulted. Yeah, they didn't believe it would affect them, Rosalind. You're right. Again, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yowza, yowza, yowza. I'm with you, Veronica. God bless America. Yeah, Puerto Rican Bad Bunny. That's the issue. His skin is too dark. He's too popular. And he's not white skinned. Are y'all still with me or did y'all go somewhere? Frank says, I think when you spew the kind of hate this man put out, you should expect to have some come back in some form. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, how could you? And there are people, man, I'm talking to people of color that still agree with Kirk. They agree with Donald Trump, and I'm amazed. It's been brought to my attention. I'm like, what are you? And then the Christian, quote unquote, side of it. I put Christianity in quotation marks because the word is the word or its derivative. Uh, it's only mentioned 3 times in the scripture. It's all negative. I like the term Christ follower. I like the term believer. It makes it more specific. But anybody, because these quote unquote Christians today, I heard Senator Warnock ask the question, and he's a pastor of the former church pastor by Dr. King, Ebenezer Baptist Church. That's Missionary Baptist in Atlanta, Georgia. He asked a question. He said, I'm asking myself, are these white patriots, nationalists, supremacists who claim to be, are they reading the same Bible? What Bible do they have? I'm with you, Senator Warnock. I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you. What? Okay. All right. Let me see what y'all are saying. I want to see how many people still on the bus over here. E-Hell is showing me the bus. Bad Bunny sound is good. Okay, Theresa. Still here, Pamela. I'm still on the bus. Connie, Carolyn Banks, still on the bus. Vicky says I'm on the bus. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, they don't believe in justice and freedom for all. Just people that look like them. Bernice, I couldn't have said it better myself. Carolyn Banks is still on the bus. Theresa Farrington Harris is still here. I'm getting ready to flip the script. All right. All right. I'm getting ready to flip the script. Shonda's there. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Have you all shared? Please share and then type it in the chat. When you share all of these interactions in the comment section, all of your uses of emojis push the algorithm so that people who don't know we're here will begin seeing us on YouTube and on Facebook and so forth and so on. So it's important that we have this interaction. All right, you'll remember Martin Niemöller. All right, Niemöller. I think it's better pronounced, right? A German Lutheran pastor. Please listen. And early supporter of Hitler. I'm speaking of Adolf Hitler, who later became imprisoned for opposing the Nazi regime. See, this quote, I'm about to give it to you again, serves as a stark reminder of the consequences of silence and complicity during times of oppression, highlighting how a lack of empathy and collective action can enable widespread injustice. And here's the poem again. First, they came for the socialist, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionist, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. Again, this is attributed to German pastor Martin Niemöller. Again, and this is the condition that we find ourselves. I'm using this poem to show you, and I won't have the opportunity to reshare the things I shared with you last week. And I want to kind of show you from the slant of this government shutdown. I'm trying to get to. I probably won't get to it tonight. Why? Why is the government shutting down? Why has it been shut down? I think we're entering to the third week now. Someone can correct me if I'm not, if I'm incorrect. Why do we see this big ado with this country's president, number 45, now number 47, entering in this the conflict in the Middle East? Why do we see this big issue with his allegedly making peace and having 20 hostages released when thousands of people have been killed? You got to be able to see through. There's this word called discernment, discernment. That is the ability to see beyond the pericope or the storyline that is given. Being able to have an understanding that is beyond that which is given, so forth and so on. Um, there are steps to a dictatorship, is what I'm wanting us to understand. Uh, uh, Politically speaking, there are systems, or how we better say it, categories of a country's sort of political. I need a better word. Political stance. Let's just say that. All right. You could have a society that politically is a socialist country. That means that all people, well, all other things being equal, are on the same level. You don't have highs, you don't have lows, you don't have the top 1%, you don't have poverty lines, you have everybody at the same level. Then, of course, you have communism. Then there is, and who can tell me what America's political system is? Who? I'm going to check the chat in just a minute's time. But then you have oligarchs, like you have in Russia, where you have just the ultra rich who are the voices behind the obvious voices. And then, of course, you have, what do you say? You have authoritarianism. You have a dictatorship where you have one man or one family, an emperor, let's just say. You see this over in Great Britain, in England. You have the royal family. It's a gussied up name, but you really have one family that is in a monarchy. Is the same thing as a dictatorship. It's just a more pleasant sounding word. One family that kind of runs the whole political system. And so every country has a political system that kind of characterizes how that country is swayed, or the movement of the country, politically speaking. I ask you a question: what political system is the country in which many of us live? America. What is that categorized as being? I'm gonna check the chat in a minute's time. So a country's slide toward dictatorship can follow several paths, but a common progression involves a leader consolidating power, and we're seeing that today, undermining democratic, let me make it clear, democratic institutions, right? We're seeing that. Manipulating public information and opinion, we're seeing that. This process often accelerates during times of economic instability. And this is why you have to crash the economic system of the country, because it makes it easier for an Adolf Hitler, to newly crowned Adolf Hitler, self-proclaimed authoritarianist, dictator to take control. Makes it easier. Um, or this is better done during periods of social unrest. This is why this administration, so I don't have to call names. This administration, have you taken the temperature? Have you read the room, so to speak? Is really attempting to provoke a race riot. Oh man, and I understand rioting, I understand picketing, I understand what is it, peaceful resistance. What is it? I understand all of that. That, but I would not advise people of color to get in the streets right now because, in my humble opinion, my most humble opinion, I believe that and there are other ways to resist. There are other ways to deal with what we have before us. But I believe this administration wants to get people of color in the streets, rioting at the worst, picketing at the best, resisting at the absolute best, even peacefully, so they can be picked off. You see, because once you structure an unrest in a country, if you have economic upheaval or downheaval, better, then you have societal unrest. A leader can exploit it. uh what do we call him? The pyromaniac, person that loves fire, right? You start the fire, and then you're the one helping the fire department put it out. This is what we are having before us now. I don't know if anybody has that kind of discernment, but yeah, yeah, I'm going to come to the chat in a minute's time. And see, this is why you see the posturing over with Netanyahu over in Israel, and this is why you see the posturing with um, um, the disrest, the unrest in Russia, um, and Ukraine, Zelensky, and you see the president of Russia. You see him in between all that, because this is what you're trying to do. Israel and Hamas. What do we have to do with that, for real? But you're trying to posture yourself as a world leader, one who created the mess, but then you want to show some sign that you're um, the solution. Now, the Bible's already predicted this, that even in the Antichrist spirit is already here, but the Antichrist himself will crown himself as the universal peacemaker. I'm seeing steps toward this. I'm not saying he is the Antichrist, but I'm saying definitely the Antichrist spirit is here. What am I specifically saying? And I'm getting into this now. If you're moving toward a dictatorship, several things have to happen. Number one, there's a rise as an insurgent outsider. In other words, the aspiring dictator presents himself or themselves as an alternative to a corrupt or ineffective establishment. Now, let alone you corrupted it, let alone you have these you how do you have a man that'd take me too long to go into that, but let alone all of the things that you have against you, all of the lawsuits, all of the and see, this is why you see this administration attacking everyone who was opposed to them, from Whoopi Goldberg all the way to Letitia James, all the way to what was the former Rudy Giuliani. That's a farce, but I mean, all the way across the board. Why would you have a president being so what we would classify as petty, right? But it's strategic, because what you're attempting to do is to rise as this insurgent outsider, This resonates with people who are dissatisfied with the political system, but it's the political system and its dissatisfaction that you created. Number two, a promised stability during turmoil. The leader capitalizes on a crisis. You have to have a crisis, such as an economic depression or wartime chaos, to offer simple solutions and to vow to restore order. This can lead to popular demand for a strongman leader. All right. This is why you see all this militarization in cities that are chocolate and with chocolate leadership. Discern, see beyond the veil. Number three, this rising dictator must undermine the democratic process or processes. They may question the legitimacy of elections. We've seen that all the way around, and other democratic norms, framing them as rigged or biased to erode public trust in the system. You have to destroy the system. All seven mountains of the systematic substratum of this country or any society for that matter. Number four, create a narrative of us versus them. And you're seeing that played out before us. We talked about it last week a bit. The leader identifies a minority group, black, chocolate, caramelated, melanated skinned people, whether they be black, bronze, or brown. Remember? Uh, the Haitian people are eating dogs and cats. You remember that debate and that statement? You remember that? What are you doing? You're attempting to denigrate a particular minority group. Um, you must do this with a minority group or political opponents to be used as a scapegoat for the country's problems. This fosters a sense of grievance, and unifies their base against the common enemy. So then, next, you have to consolidate power. Once in office, a leader begins a concerted effort to dismantle checks and balances to make their rule absolute. Number one, steps to that: exploit a national emergency, an event such as an attack, disaster. So if there's nothing happening with us in other countries, you have to foster this. You have to create it. You have to. This is why this country is being jeered at by all of the. I mean, we are as this country just about out of NATO, just about. We don't have. Do we have? Let me just ask you all. Do we have any allies left? I mean, that's why. This is the reason that this administration went and picked on who? Firstly, Canada, Canada, Canada. The Canadians are everyone's friends. They were friends, allies to these United States. And so if we disrupt the relationship, we can create a national emergency, such as an attack, disaster, economic crisis, used to justify the rapid expansion of executive power and the suspension of civil liberties. Adolf Hitler, for example, used the Reichstag, fire to create a tyrannical regime. I didn't get that word out right. But you know where I'm going with that. A little bit tied tongue tonight, but that's okay. Number two, you seize control of state institutions. The leader removes and replaces career professionals, listen, please, in key areas like military, judiciary, and civil service with loyalists. I'm going to show you something. Stay with me. This is why you could have, all of the cabinet, all the administrative cabinet people don't have to be qualified, don't have to be certified, just loyal to number 45, now number 47. This ensures these institutions will not challenge the new regime. Number three, rewrite laws and the Constitution. It's coming. This is why you had to pay attention to the Supreme Court ruling last year. I'll get to it. Just stay with me. Recent rulings expanding presidential authority. I'll get to it. You just stay there. Um, they altered the legal framework to consolidate power. This can include extending term limits. You remember? I don't know what people were thinking about. The man said, if you vote for me this time, this will be the last time you ever have to concern yourself with voting. We're going to fix it. I'm pretty close to quoting him verbatim. When I heard that, whoa. Political opponents may be arrested, including extending term limits, centralizing authority. That means it's all authority is in this one seat, centralization, and reinterpreting constitutional law to grant themselves nearly unlimited power. You'd have to be Stevie Wonder not to see this. Number 4, co-opt or neutralize opponents. The leader may use rewards, intimidation, or violence. You see it. It's all in the playbook to silence opposition. Political opponents may be arrested, and dissenters are repressed through surveillance, threats, or imprisonment. You see it. I mentioned the district attorney of the state of New York, Letitia James. I mean, you saw it. You saw him pick on, who was it, Fannie Willis in Atlanta. It just close your eyes and choose one. Number 5, cultivate a cult of personality. See, personality politics is what we're under now. Propaganda, state-controlled media, and the suppression of independent journalism are used to build a narrative of the leader as a strong, almost divine. Where have we heard that before? He's our Cyrus. That's the ultra right. God has sent us our Cyrus. Man, you can't know by. First of all, Cyrus is good of the succession of kings as he was a king in Babylon. The very word itself means confusion. Anyway, almost divine figure. This creates a parallel reality and fosters, here it is, blind loyalty. I want you to type those 2 words in the chat, blind loyalty. I'm coming to the chat, but I just had to get past a certain point so I can pick up next week. Then the third step, and I'm going to break it down into sub-steps. The leader, this emerging dictator, must control the populace. That's the culture of his or her country. The final stage involves the maintenance of power by controlling information and crushing dissent. Number 1, limit free speech. I'll just wait for that right there for you all to catch up. Limit free speech. This is why you saw such a surge of people being arrested, dismissed from their positions after the Charlie Kirk incident for just saying. This is why you saw, what was the late night person's name? I'll give you all another pop quiz. Type his name in there. I know it, but I want you to associate. I want to associate you with what you're seeing here, playing right in front of you, in case there are any Trumpers that are with us. What did it mean? What was the late night personnel's male host's name whose program was taken off the air by the forces, the powers that be, for about a week until the money was affected? And that's what it comes down to. I just want to see how many of you all can put his name in the chat. Put his name in there. What does that mean? That was a limit of free speech, and the censorship and the delegitimization of the press to ensure that the public only receives government-approved information. That's where it's going. This prevents counter narratives, or the truth, let's just say, from taking hold. And this is, yes. Then number 2, mobilize and control mass organizations. The state uses political parties, youth groups, and other organizations to spread propaganda and ensure compliance. Compliance with whom? The emerging dictator. Number three, deploy fear and state terror. A secret police, who can tell me what the secret police were called that worked for Adolf Hitler in Nazi Germany? There's a title for them. Type it in the chat. I'll see who we have here. A secret police force or loyal military units are used to intimidate and punish political enemies. Political enemies. Not that they committed any crime, just political enemies. This creates an atmosphere of fear that discourages dissent. You can't disagree with the emperor. Number four, isolate the country from outside influence. The dictator may block may block cross-border travel, restrict information flow, and reject international institutions to prevent democratic ideas from penetrating the country's borders. This will not be the first time, my friends. Why am I talking to you about this? Because we have to be people of voice. In the church, man, the church is the pillar and ground of the truth. I don't understand how we can talk about everything else, getting to heaven, for example, and I believe in that. But there's a little distance in time. We're here now. This has been aided, this undermining of the democratic system in this country has been aided by the recent Supreme Court rulings. Now, you had to watch the long game. You have to understand chess. If you think in checkers, you'll never see it. You'll just, laugh at being crowned as a king on a checkerboard. You'll never step up to understanding chess. It's on the same board, different rules, and the pawns go first. The objective of chess is to protect who? Whom? I'll let you take that in the chat. And you use the pawns to set up your game. And that's what's been being played out. All right. The recent Supreme Court rulings expanding presidential authority. Trump versus the United States, 2024. In a 6-3 decision, the court ruled that the president has, listen please, absolute immunity from criminal prosecution for, quote, core constitutional powers, but not for unofficial acts. Here's a real issue, major concern. This ruling was criticized for allowing presidents to act with immunity. That means you can't imprison them, which means there are no more war crimes, which means that you don't have to, this president, the person given this kind of immunity does not have to uphold the Constitution, because what? There's no imprisonment. Forget all the 32 felonies that the man has already been convicted of, with many more to come. This is what this is all about. This ruling was criticized for allowing presidents to act with impunity for certain official acts, with one dissenting justice stating it was, quote, it fundamentally alters the presidency. Yeah, because it makes it a king. It makes him an emperor. End quote. Some legal experts believe the decision, quote, grants the presidential power of a monarch, and I agree. End quote. Echoing former President Nixon's controversial claim that if a president does something, quote, that means it's not illegal. And that's what this president has said. If I do it as president, it can't be illegal, because that's the mentality of the far right, the non-Lincoln Republicans of today, the ultra Republicans, the ultra conservative Republicans, the MAGA Republicans. That's the whole idea. And then there was this ruling in 2025 you don't hear much about. It was The Supreme Court's limiting nationwide injunctions, the Court 6-3 again, decision in June 2025 significantly restricted the ability, listen please, of federal judges to issue nationwide injunctions against presidential policies and executive orders. What does all this mean? Well, here's the impact. This decision makes it much more difficult to block a president's agenda across the entire country, meaning relief is generally limited to the individuals who filed the lawsuit. Critics contend this undermines the ability of courts to serve as a meaningful check on executive overreach, particularly regarding policies that impact millions of people, which means just throw out the judicial level of government. You only have three. You have the legislative, the people that set up the laws. Then you have judicial, the people that make sure that the laws that were set up, um, how do you say, are legal based on the United States Constitution. And then, of course, then you have the final pillar, the final leg of the executive. And this is the president. Now, this person is, I'm telling you all. And why am I talking about this? Because if you voted for the sofa in the last presidential election, if you vote for the sofa in these midterms that are coming up next year, if you think, oh, they got it, it'll be all right, and you don't talk to your family, what does is everyone in your family an active voter? Do you talk about this at the dinner table? We ain't got time to be talking about playing bid whiz and tonk and at Thanksgiving. Man, this is, I believe this is an opportunity for the lame people to rise up and walk. That's what Jesus told the man who was at the pool of Bethesda. Will you be made whole? And then he said, rise up, take up your bed and walk. This is our time. God will help us. But yet we do have to get up and assume the responsibility as the feet of God, the legs of God, the voice of God, the hands of God. God has no bodies but ours. And the church, in my opinion, has failed miserably because it has been overtaken with a spirit of racism that's always been there, but it's unleashed now. And it's under the cover of white supremacy. They never will say that about themselves, but they call themselves patriots. They call themselves nationalists. And they're guised as Christians. They're Christian white nationalists. Pamela says, I talk to them and they still choose learned helplessness. Yeah. But you have to keep talking. Undermine executive overreach. Yes, Teresa. So where are the checks and balances in the government, Teresa Harris? Yeah, that's the whole objective, to undermine this, get rid of checks and balances. Because nobody can check who? The king. Because you move the checks, the king can't be checked, then you don't have checkmate. This is why we have... All while 45/47 is creating these distractions, the rest of the crooked family, his offspring, are in the background unlawfully enriching the family. Yeah, Jared and his daughter, and Jared, man, is a billionaire. Sold, we talked about last week. 30, what I say, 32 felonies, Abraham, thank you, 34 felonies. Let's get the record straight. Yeah, Pamela says 34. I said 32, 34. Yeah. So who is it? No king in America, the king, the king, the king. All right, in chess, what is the goal? The game ain't over till you do what? That's right, Pamela. The pawns protect all of the players on the chessboard are in the protection of who? The king. That's why this man is going for kingship, dictatorship. Yeah, that's why he stacked. That's what I was trying to get to. Thank you, Connie. He stacked the Supreme Court with his recommendations. When former President Barack Obama tried to, I forget who it was, who passed away, and it was his to make a recommendation, and I mean, he's a sitting duck. He couldn't get a democratically nominated justice, a Supreme Court justice in place. And number 45 gets back in, and just as easy as pie. I mean, he comes in, and after Obama gets his nominations in there, and what's he doing? He's stacking the court with his own folk. Oh, gosh. Yeah, okay. Somebody got it right. Carolyn Banks, the Gestapo. That was, yeah. Teresa Harris has it too. The Gestapo. Thank you. Yeah, Carolyn Banks, Gestapo. Shirley Miller, Gestapo. Teresa Thomas, Gestapo. Angela Carlisle, Gestapo. That's right. The Gestapo. These were Hitler's personal police. Oh, I got to give you something before we go. Yeah, Jimmy Kimmel. That's who we're after. Low funding for NPR and PBS. That's right. Because they are their history is not jaded, so they want to get rid of them. The public broadcasting system and national public radio want to get rid of that because you can't censor them. Okay. So Jimmy Kimmel, yeah, you all hit it right, Jimmy Kimmel. But there was another person who had some things to say, and he's just as vocal and verbal as is Kimmel. Let's see if you got him. Uh, yeah, yes, thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Pamela. Stephen Colbert. Yeah, he takes his jabs too. They're trying to limit freedom of speech. Dolores Gay says, but he talks about everyone. Yeah, limit freedom of speech regarding everyone who talks about the king. But the king can talk about anyone he wants to. You talk about double standards. Yes, Shirley has it. Veronica has it. Carolyn Banks has the panel. Yes. Jimmy Kimmel. Yeah, blind loyalty. I ask you all to type that in. Okay, you all are getting down with your information. Yes. Let's see. Did I get everything that I said I was coming to the chat to talk about? Let's see. Woo. Yeah, thank you, Theresa. She says, open our eyes that we may see. Yeah, they get so drunk on all their perceived power, and they don't see the cliff. He's leading the proverbial cliff, Pamela, that he's leading them off of. Yes, that's exactly right. Uh, these people talking about they have their passport up to date. I hear you. Yeah, authoritarian takeover is here. We must fight back, Theresa. You're right, and that's why I'm saying we have to vote, and we have to vote in the midterm elections. We have to vote on every format, every front. We have to talk to our families. We have to talk to our peers. We have to speak with in uncomfortable situations. Right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what I'm asking, Connie. Do we have any allies? Do we? Yeah, that's the word I was trying to say, Carolyn Banks. Tyrannical. Like, yeah, I'm a little tongue tied here, but it's okay. Governors JB Pritzker and Gavin Newsom are fighting back against authoritarian takeover. Yeah, they have some swag or some moxie. I just like to see, I'm disappointed. I don't know how you all feel about him, but what is the Senate minority leader's name? This is another little pop quiz. Are you all keeping up with him? I'm disappointed. I know understanding the chess game, but you can't vote with these Republicans for anything. You let me tell the story. Yeah, 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 yeah. They're on the list. Yeah, they're spreading the eating cats and dogs like peanut butter lie. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm just going back through the chat to see how far back. Yep. Mm-hmm. Corruption in the Department of Justice. Yeah, James Comey, Veronica Jackson. That's another program by itself. Angela Carlisle, yes, he wants a Nobel a Peace Prize. Yeah. Why? Why? I I'll tell you the main reason. He wants to know. Yeah, Carolyn Banks says it. Angela Carlisle. Yeah. Why does he? Why do y'all think he wants to know? Why do you think he wants a Nobel Peace Prize? Yeah, I was drawing a blank. Thank you, Veronica. Uh, uh, Putin, uh, Prime Minister Putin over Russia, and Zelensky over Ukraine. Thank you, Veronica. You saw my brain freeze there. It's okay. Try to keep so much in my mind, but it's okay. That's why you all are here. You all are wonderful. What else did I leave off? Where did I leave off? I'm going to the end. Yes, yes, no. Hakeem Jeffries, Senate Minority Leader. Hakeem Jeffries. I know Chuck Schumer. That's another story for another day. Antonio Scalia. That's who I was trying to think about. That Barack Obama tried to replace. Yeah, thank you, Shonda. They are here. Yeah. Uh, Hakeem Jeffries, right? I think the H may be silent. So Hakeem. I'm disappointed. Chuck Schumer is no new surprise. He's been who he has been. You have to remember he was well. Yes, thank you, Carolyn Banks. I ask you, why is it such a big deal that this president receives a Nobel Peace Prize? And Carolyn Banks, this is my opinion. She answers me with a question. Because Obama got it? Yeah. Teresa Thomas says, yeah, because Obama received the Nobel. Yeah, yeah. And you can't have this black-skinned man receive anything that the white-skinned man cannot qualify for and receive. Yes, it doesn't fit the narrative. All right. Yes, 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 yes. Yeah. Okay. I said Senate Minority Leader, House Minority Leader. Thank you. And Chuck Schumer is the Senate Minority Leader. Thank you. But so Chuck Schumer is no surprise. How even he came into the Democratic Party is no surprise. But Hakeem Jeffries, House Minority Leader, that means he represents the House of Representatives. Um, Schumer represents the senators on the Democratic side, and minority only because not because of color, but because the Republicans are in power in both the House and Senate. So they are the majority leaders. They're House leader and Senate leader. The minority leaders are only because not because of color, minority in that sense, but because of party. And the Republicans are in the leadership of the House and Senate and presidency. And so these leaders are called minority leaders because the Democrats are not in control of either the presidency, the House, or the Senate. So anyway, yeah, Angela Carlisle, he's the devil. Yeah, yeah. I think she's referring to Chuck Schumer. I don't know. Anyway. All right, guys. I'll let you all go. It's 7:57 now. Next week, I'm going to get to the government shutdown. Oh, let me give you this. See, the Gestapo. Remember, I told you about that, and I'll pick it back up next week. Here's a couple of footnotes. Number one, Hitler weaponized the military in his takeover because you have to understand Germany before Hitler was a democracy. There were a three-pronged government, uh, and he unified all three offices into the Führer or the dictator that he became. And he did this by weaponizing the military. See, I'm going to give you the military oath under the Weimar Republic. This is the republic that ran Germany before Hitler. Okay, 1919 to 1933. The military oath went this way: I swear loyalty to the Reich, Reich Constitution and vowed that I will protect the German nation and its lawful establishment as a brave soldier at any time and will obey the president and my superiors. But then when Hitler took over as dictator, the military oath changed as of August 1934. I swear by God, this sacred oath, I will render unconditional obedience not to Germany, not to its citizens, to Adolf Hitler, the Fuhrer of the German nation and people, supreme commander of the armed forces, and will be ready as a brave soldier to risk my life at any time for this oath. You see the change? And this is what you see reflective and reminiscent of this action with number 45/47's cabinet. You see, all of these people are loyalists. This is taken from the playbook of Adolf Hitler. This is how Germany became Nazi Germany under a dictator, a ruthless dictator. Okay. And then Hitler weaponized the media through propaganda. Okay. These efforts promulgated Nazi ideology throughout German society. Such ideology included promotion of Nazi policies and values at home, worldview beyond their borders, anti Semitism, that's feelings against Hebrew or Jewish people, vilification of non German peoples, all others, and anti Nazi organizations, eugenics. Oh man, that's a whole nother subject, and eventually total war against allied nations. So you see those two pieces fluttering and flickering around the United States government at present. The steps are there. Project 2025 is just recreated playbook from Adolf Hitler. It's just that simple. You all type something in the chat before we go, and next week we'll get to the essence of where I'm trying to go with this program. It was business philosopher Jim Rohn who makes the statement: sincerity is not a test of truth. He must not make this mistake. He must be right. He's so sincere. It is possible, he went on to say, to be sincerely wrong. We must judge truth by truth, one notion, and sincerity by sincerity, another notion. Just as there's a time to keep silent, there's also a time to speak. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 7. God says there's a time to keep silent and a time to speak. We cannot afford to be silent from our various platforms of influence. Silence is, some would say, golden. And I retort by saying, only until one's family and friends are negatively affected by wrongdoing. Others would say to me, silence is great. And I retort to them by saying, until someone's voice is necessary to save your life or corroborate your innocence. Silence is compromise. Silence is complicity with erroneous thinking. Silence is agreement with sanitized history. Silence is co-signing with control, racist, bigoted, and supremacy mentality. Silence is equity and fairness in reverse. Silence robs supremacy of ever hearing truth and having the opportunity to change. Silence is the voice of continuous ethnic mistreatment. Silence validates inferior treatment. Silence is the approval of being objectified and maligned. Silence is often mistaken for agreement and consent. Silence is the devastation of a child being untrained, uncontrolled, and undisciplined by its, silent parent. Silence is one level of maintaining and perpetuating cloaked ignorance. Silence is the ostrich syndrome. Black, bronze, and brown children must know how to correctly respond to racism, which they can only know when we are not silent. Truth does not require error to be silent in order to be in control. Error, however, requires the absolute silence of truth to take control of and dominate any situation. Speaking the truth is not the crime. You guessed it, withholding it is. Be silent, however, only if speaking serves to boost your ego or to seek validation. Blessings and peace to you and yours. You all light up the chat. I'm going to leave the chat up for just another few moments. And you can help us to spread this message to other people who are not typically a part of our viewer/listenership by contributing in the chat. Thank you for your time, and we'll see you the next time. Blessings and peace to you and your.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmony of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the glistening skies. Let it resound